Good afternoon and welcome to Kantipur News Talk. Nepal is moving through major shifts that includes LDC graduation and also growing climate pressures and the role of international support, INGOs, appropriate policies and smart investment at this scenario is under the spotlight. Today's conversation is not just about development on paper, it's about aid, it's about accountability, sustainable development, and the real question, where are we actually headed? Today we're joined by the chairperson of AIN Nepal, SP Kalaunee, someone who is not only leading one of the country's key networks of international NGOs, but also an academic who brings evidence-based insight to these issues. We'll talk about what's changing, what's working, and what Nepal needs in this critical decade. Join me in welcoming him to the show. Welcome to Kantipur News Talk.
Thank you so much.
I hear it's been a very eventful day for you, a lot of rush.
Yes, it has. I just came back from Dhangari. It was good.
So you have overviewed the INGO sector for quite some time now. How have you seen the funding that we receive and the INGO sector, the interests, the programs that they implement, the projects that they take up evolve over the course of years?
Oh, great question. Thank you so much. So if you look at, even if you don't go too far behind, within last 1.5 decades, we have seen a swift increase in the aid landscape, the amount of aid that international aid that has been disbursed. But then 3-4 years back, we see that slowly declining, and that has now gone swiftly down. So when we look at the different dimensions of aid, we see one from the point of view of the amount of fund flow, so which goes up and then spikes down. So similarly, if you look at the kind of geographical shifts that we see, the main Western countries that were the primary donors of international aid now slowly changing, and we see a big projects now, for example, China investing in the Belt and Road Initiative, for example. India coming with as a larger donor. So we see the geographical shift as well. But for INGOs, I think the priorities have not been changed. We are here for supporting Nepal government's priority. We work alongside the government in partnership. We sign the partnership agreement with the government and then follow the government priorities in ensuring that especially the community that's left behind, the marginalized, can also get the advantage of development initiatives. So the priority has not changed. However, one positive side of this change that we see over the years is that since Nepal has defined sustainable development goals, has come up with the 16th periodic plan, and also has a long-term vision of 2021. So all of these guiding documents provide us a direction towards where we are headed. So INGOs get this opportunity to work alongside the government in terms of where we need to put our investment. The financial landscape, the investment landscape had changed, but our priorities remain in line with the government's priorities. And not only Nepal government's national commitment, but also the commitment we have made outside the country, the global commitments, whether human rights or inclusion, all these important topics. The INGOs come alongside the government to ensuring that these commitments are fulfilled. While we say that, there's a long road ahead. We have a very short period of time, especially as we plan on graduating from least developed country and approaching the Sustainable Development Goal timeline in 2030, which is only 4 years away now. So we have a lot of work to be done, a lot of situation that Nepal transitions through, not only politically but administratively, all this decentralization process, a lot that has happened in the past few years and a couple of decades. So the road is not easy, smooth, short, and without obstacles, but we see also an opportunity for us to work alongside the government with a firm commitment and direction set by those documents I just referred to proceed and advance forward in terms of achieving them.
How has the pandemic or the ongoing crisis around the world affected the maybe resource, the mobilization of resource, and the nature of programs?
Yes, significantly. That's a great point to add here. The pandemic has consumed a lot of resources. Of course, there was a loss of a human life and also property and other things. But then we have also learned a lot of lessons through it. For example, the importance of the first responders in terms of saving lives. So if you're not prepared in responding to the pandemic such as COVID, we cannot save lives. So it is not the accumulation of wealth at one part of the world that helps, but the wealth distributed throughout the globe, throughout the world, that actually supports in terms of responding to the situations like that. Similarly, localization, decentralization, whereby the people at the local level are not only equipped with, but have enough resources to respond to those situations. That's another learning we have had. And also, as we talk about, equity in development, I think that's another area where the pandemic has taught us a lesson that you can be stuck anywhere in the world. Anything that you have may not work if we have not distributed that well, and if we're not looking at from the equity perspective. And so these are the lessons, and also on one hand, the COVID sort of, in terms of resource mobilization, a lot of our investment had to go in terms of responding to the COVID, which created gaps in our other regular pace of development. For example, in education, we saw a lot of loss in learning, and we now have to work on how do we recover that loss. In healthcare, similarly, of course, we were losing the lives. We had to save lives at the same point, but at the same time, we had long-term plans. We could not work on the regular plans that we had put in terms of how we are going to advance our healthcare system. So it was a big blow, but has also provided us a lot of learning and opportunity in terms of how we need to be prepared for the future. So now that the global community has an opportunity to learn from that and say that it's really important for us to work together in the preparedness. It's not when the situation like pandemic come that we can act upon and then respond to, even if we have resources, but we need to be prepared. And prepared not only in one part of the world, but prepared throughout the globe, so that everybody, all the population throughout the world can get the benefit of the development that we all are aspiring to.
You mentioned that the INGO sector, the programs that they implement are of course in line with government's plan. But how challenging is it to work?
Right. Well, yes, it's challenging. I wouldn't say anything comes without challenges. It's not without, but it's despite challenges that we're working alongside the government. And also that's our priority of working alongside the government. We're not here to create a parallel system. We're not here to kind of create our own mission and vision of doing something. But this is to be complementary to the priorities the government has put in place, and therefore we work alongside the government. It's not without any challenges. I'll say, for example, there's a long administrative and bureaucratic process, even if we want to bring the resources in the country and start working in the communities. So we need to go through a long approval process in order to sign the partnership agreements and general agreements that are the basis for us to work in the country. So it takes sometimes months, and sometimes it even goes beyond a year in terms of getting approval alone. So that affects our ability to deliver good results. Because we have, if we were working in line with the government's priorities and we have a timeline, we have resources that somebody has entrusted us to utilize. And so if we're not able to get the approval on time, we're not able to deliver on the outcomes that we hope for. So what happens is that delays the process, and that we cannot utilize the competence we have, the capacity the organizations bring, and also because we work alongside the local government, local implementing partners, the national organizations. And so until we get the approval, we need to be waiting for the approval to come, and we cannot start implementation. Although there are some administrative ways identified that you can work to some degree once you have are already in the process of signing project agreement, but the delivery of the result becomes really compromised with that. I also would like to take this opportunity to clarify the thing that, at times what happens is it just, appears on the surface sometimes in the media that, INGOs come and work, as per their interest and whatever their agenda is. It is not like that. What happens is there's a very strong accountability the INGOs need to follow. We come, bring the resources, and we can only work based on the general agreement we sign with the Social Welfare Council, following which we need to sign a project approval, which specifies all the details, which has got every specific objectives, deliverables mentioned it in line with the Sustainable Development Goal, our 16th plan, and all of that. And that approval gives us a way to work in the community. And there's a regular monitoring happening from the government agencies, also Social Welfare Council. And there are midterm and final evaluations done of the project. And also there's accountability on part of the donor. So whoever is providing the funding, there's a regular supervision, there is an audit done, there's a social, audits done in the community with the municipality and local government. And also we work with the local governments from the beginning. We get the pre-consensus letter from any municipality we work in, whereby the municipalities are saying, oh, we would like you to work in this sector, in this region, in my municipality. So that's a pre-consensus provided. Once the approval of the project is done, then we start implementation, and there's a social audit done, there's a plan of the organization submitted to the municipality that becomes a plan of the local government. So there's a huge amount of accountability mechanism put in place. So it's not like a free flow of the things. Once we are able to deliver on the commitment, if there's an efficiency generated through all this mechanism that we go through, I think we can contribute much more than what we are able to do that. And also, working with the local partner organizations provides us an opportunity of identifying the local needs and also implementing, because they are the part of that community, and also alignment with the local government is ensured and strengthened because we work with the local partners. So there is a very strong alignment of international organizations working in the country. And also because the INGOs do not bring the loan. It's not that the resources come and the government pays back with interest. It's a grant money coming in, right? If we're able to utilize the grant properly, I think there's no liability on the government side, no liability on the country side, on the recipient end, but we can actually contribute significantly to the development of the country. So I think we actually need to come out of this sometimes perception of like, maybe there's no accountability or there's no mechanism to hold INGOs accountable. There's a free flow of the things. And sometimes you hear this like dollar word used. I'm not sure. On one hand, the country is trying to generate a lot of resources externally because our, internal revenue is not, good enough for meeting our targets, meeting our plans. And therefore, our finance ministry is always constantly looking for more and more external issuers. And the matter of fact that we're celebrating sometimes the loan approved, right? And which I'm not against if the country needs a loan for a particular reason and can pay back, which is not a bad thing, which is a good thing for the country to take. But if we can take a loan, if we can celebrate receiving loan from outside the country, why can't we celebrate similarly the grant received, right? And utilize it for the benefit of the people. And if anything that we feel like this will not be very helpful for us, or if the grant that is proposed is not in line with our priorities, we can always reject it. The country always has authority to say this is not required. But if it's coming as per the priorities the government has set, if it is as per the development goals of the country, and if it's a grant amount, I think that should be welcomed and that should be celebrated more. Like
you mentioned, bureaucratic hassles and the lengthy procedures is one of the highlights of the problems, issues during implementation or pre-implementation phases. What would you say is the concrete solution? Because by the time maybe projects get approved, the project might lose relevance.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. No, that's actually a big problem, because see, international organizations do not, all the international organizations have Nepal operations alone. In fact, most of the INGOs work in multiple countries. Say, for example, one international organization is proposing that it wants to bring $1 million to Nepal, if we take a year for approval and another country is seeking similar kind of funding and is saying like, we will give the approval in a month, can you please bring that resource here? Who do you think that money will go to, right? So there are such situations, and to be competitive even in terms of, what do you call this, ease of doing business globally now, and to create an environment for more and more resources to flow in the country, we really need to work harder, because it really has significant implications in terms of how much resource we can bring into the country. And therefore, the solution that you asked, I think it needs to be a clear and time-bound approach of, okay, we start the process, and within these many days, a month, we will provide the approval, and that needs to be executed on time. And then I also do not say that, you give the money, give the approval, and then leave it. We need to hold the organizations accountable for impact, and which we have mechanism for. Because there's a monitoring mechanism, there's an evaluation system put in place. So if we are able to utilize the mechanism we have in place properly, I think we can deliver on the results. But we cannot actually hold the process, in the beginning of approval, keep it too long, and then expect that the results will come. That doesn't happen.
Very quickly, I want to jump to our LDC graduation. There has been a lot of excitement that we're graduating, but also concerns that after graduation, there will be a lot of nature of funds that we might not be able to access, or things might change, and there's always the risk of reversing backwards.
Right.
So what for you would be an ideal scenario where we transition very smoothly into graduation and then stay?
Right. No, this is really very important question. First of all, I would echo with the kind of sentiment of this is a celebratory thing. And this is something to be celebrated, that a country is graduating from being in a lower kind of development status to go up into the next step. But then we are at a stage where this is kind of like a crossroad of, okay, I pass, but I'm not sure if I can stay there, right? So we should always be thinking about what next step on the ladder is. But if our question is, can we stay there, that's a risky situation to be at, right? So can I fall back? That means that I'm not really prepared. So I think it's a really great question, that there needs to be a very smooth transition process. And I also share that National Planning Commission of Nepal has put together a smooth transition strategy in place, which I think is a great initiative. But what needs to happen as a country, we need to be prepared. We first of all need to have the information in place once we graduate. So what are the areas that we see will be lacking resources in? Or how is this going to impact the country in terms of resources and impact, and direct impact in the communities that we're serving right now? For example, if you look at the graduation of Bhutan, we got a report that there was almost 4% of grant decreased after graduation. So if that is what we are also expecting, then we should also look at, okay, what does that mean in terms of implementation of programs, right? So how will that affect the communities that we're providing service to right now? And if there is that gap, how is that gap going to be fulfilled by internal revenue, or what is alternative mechanism of revenue? So I think all of this needs to be put in place before we actually graduate. The plan needs to be put in place. So the smooth transition plan, the strategy put in place, needs to be revised, relooked, and it cannot be a stagnant report put in place. But I think it has to be a live document. We need to continuously work, because next year we're thinking, we're planning on graduating. So it's not like, oh, we got time, we got few years. Yeah. So, and second, I also think that we know our current national budget, we depend on external resources, and we do not see a likelihood of the country being ready to say that, oh, from this year on, we're not going to need any international aid. So we will continue to have that need in a longer run. So how do we retain, sustain, and also increase the international aid is going to be another important thing. And for that, for example, how do we say, for example, in case of international organizations, how can we get more resources for the communities? Because one of the things, sir, I think is really important that the day we graduate from being least developed country, you know that all of a sudden that overnight the situation of the people in the community is not going to change, right? Yeah. Whoever is receiving, say for example, the midday meal is going to need the midday meal, right? So it's not like all of a sudden all the infrastructure is done, all the needs are met and we're in the higher status now. So no problem. I mean, that the needs in the communities are going to continue. That's what we know for sure. What does that mean is that we will need the resources, not only to continue, but maybe we need more if we want to stay and think about moving forward. And for which we really need to work on creating a better environment. You know, we talked about the challenges we face. How can we address those challenges and create an environment whereby more international organizations are willing to come and work in this country. More people from outside are going to, are looking for more investment in the country, and more bilateral and multilateral funds can come to the country. So I think we need to put together a very concrete plan where we say, like, specifically in these areas, very much specified information, the data, saying that these are the areas that we're going to need more resources in, right? So that's really important, not only from the thinking perspective, but also how we realign our national resources, national revenue, to those targeted interventions that are going to be affected with the graduation. I mean, graduation will also provide us an opportunity, because, like, we're hoping that this is going to build trust in the international community, that they will be willing to put in more investment, right? But then, have we been able to build that trust in the community, right? Honorable Prime Minister recently visited in Spain, so he addressed many investors. So I hope that there's a positive movement and momentum going on for attracting international investment. But if we are not able to attract that, and the loan becomes more interest driven, and we get less grant, we can get into the debt trap.
Yes.
So we need to be careful about that, and that plan needs to anticipate all these situations and have a plan to address them.
Great thought. Thank you so much for your valuable time and insight.
Thank you.
Well, Nepal isn't just navigating external transitions like LDC graduation or global climate expectation, but also internal ones like strengthening institutions, building trust, and ensuring that development is not just delivered but co-owned. Whether it's the evolving role of aid, the critical contributions of INGOs, or the urgency of aligning investments with long-term development goals, we hope this conversation gave some nuances to all concerned. As we move forward, partnerships will matter more than ever, but so will direction. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.